My name is Michelle Washington, TV style expert and fashion stylist. I've worked with countless brands and seen the ins and outs of the fashion industry. Now, I want to bring their stories to you. Join me as we take a deeper look at the journeys of Texas fashion designers and apparel industry professionals and learn just what it takes to make it as a brand.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Seams. I'm your host, Michelle Washington, TV style expert. And do not adjust your screens because the fashion revolution is being televised. Today I'm sitting down with designer Jillian Hackett of Lillian Jenae Designs. Girl, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Well, you know the world is better with the design in the room.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and chat.
Oh, you know what? Didn't you say that you had to drive a little ways? Where are you from?
So that's actually a pretty loaded question. So my studio is based in Lubbock, Texas, but my actual home is in North Houston. So I'm kind of go back and forth. I'm a road tripper. My driving is so much fun for me, but my studio is based in Lubbock, and then I am in Houston, but I kind of go a little bit of everywhere around the state. So just anywhere in Texas is where my home is.
So you must be loving that GPS.
Yes. Do not hand me a map. It will not end well. It will not end well for me if I do not have my GPS.
Well, Jillian, you have been busy.
Yes.
You've been in several magazines, several articles. You've been traveling. Let's start off with the name of your line. How did you come about that?
So my brand name is Lillian Jenae Designs, which my first and middle name is Jillian Lene. So I kind of flip-flopped those, but also it's kind of paying honor to my great-grandmother, Lillian, who I was named after. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1 thing on that, to kind of pay honor to my family, and then also to kind of have a reflection of myself through not a lens that relies heavily on the name Jillian Hackett. So it's something that I can design under without having to use my legal name. But kind of a fun mix of family roots and my own personal passions.
So does the design bug live within your family? Did you get it from your grandmother maybe?
My grandmother, yes, but the design bug definitely more so comes from my mother. She taught me how to sew when I was 9, and honestly, thank you so much, Mom, for teaching me how to sew, because you really, really just knocked over that first domino and everything else just kind of followed in suit. But it definitely, creativity's always been a part of my life. Everybody in my family is either super musical or just super creative in different aspects. So it's always been around me, and so finding an outlet for it was just kind of like a rite of passage in my family.
Oh, wow. So your first sewing machine was?
It was an old Kenmore. It was an old Kenmore sewing machine, and I want to say my mother still actually has it somewhere. I don't think it runs anymore, but that was the machine that I really got my start on, and I was really able to learn the basics of sewing and take on doing a lot of really fun projects as a kid for like 4-H and different like county fairs and stuff.
Oh, Kenmore, you taking me back to my days, the Sears and Roebuck catalog that's showing the years old. We won't talk about that. So that means you probably remember the days of the Easy Bake Oven.
Yes, I do. Oh no. Don't get me started on the Easy Bake Oven, because I begged my parents for one for the longest time. I was like, I need this. This is essential to my life. And they were like, well, okay. And then also that got me started on a bunch of other creative pursuits where I'm like, this is great. Why aren't we doing more of this? And so it kind of fed into everything from there.
I burned a perfectly good set of brownies and the sprinkles and all those things, but it's good. We know about that easy bake.
Yes.
So with that kind of creativity, certainly you pour it into your designs.
I do. I really try and envelop part of my own upbringing into what I make, and really try to pour as much creativity as possible while maintaining something that's like still wearable for the person who I'm designing for. I want to make sure that whatever I'm making has a piece of me in it, and I can see a reflection of myself, but also maintaining like a perspective that people will actually want to wear this, and it's not necessarily just a communication tool, but it's something that I can look in a mirror and look at the piece, and there's like a commonality between the two.
It sounds like you're very close to your target customer. Is your target customer more like you, or is there someone you have more in mind?
For me, my customer base is most definitely Gen Z to millennial consumers, people who really value things that are whimsical and wearable. And I want to make sure that the people that I'm designing for, they want to have fun in what they're wearing, but they also value like a practicality. So it's definitely like someone who's very much like me, like what I'm wearing today. Like I love things that are very wearable, but you can still have fun with it with how you style it. And also I love the top you are wearing today. It's beautiful.
Thank you. But I'm sorry, we have to see those shoes. If you can get a leg up here somehow. Okay.
Little silver shoe moment. I don't know if that is in, but.
Do not let that be in my size, because we will have to talk later.
Okay. What size exactly are we talking, Michelle?
I'm a little size.
Yeah. Okay. Size, do not tell Michelle where my closet is, or we were gonna have problems.
No, we might.
We might actually work out on this though.
Okay.
We'll talk.
What I love about your designs is that there's whimsy. And we were discussing this earlier. So you have a love or a childhood love of Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
And I guess Alice kind of showed up later in life in your designs.
Yes, it did. So I've always been a fan of like anything fantastical, anything fantasy, romance, and that's definitely imbued itself into my design aesthetic, where anything that has frills, ruffles, bows, or like a really good floral print or just a fun texture, that you can kind of see that through all of the different media that I consumed as a child. And so that's definitely kind of made me who I am, and so therefore it makes my designs what they are. So a lot of it has been tapping into the fantasy that I love, like Alice in Wonderland, like you just said, and really finding my own voice in that and how those different things throughout my life have shaped me.
So Alice in Wonderland shows up in your home life too, because you have, I remember the Cheshire cat,
Yeah,
big red.
yeah.
So you have a cat by the name of
Dinah. She is 20 years old. She has been probably genuinely my best friend for the past 20 years of my life. But she's just the sweetest little tabby cat you've ever seen. And if you're ever in my studio, she'll be there with me sometimes, and she'll kind of like walk around and she'll yell at you in order to get in your lap, and she'll just kind of like wander around. And she always likes to sit on either my pattern paper or tries to sit on my fabric, and that's when I have to say, okay, you have to go back to your bed. Like I love that you're my assistant, but you have to go back to your bed.
Through all of your design journey, one thing has to come to mind is that Texas hasn't always been on the map for fashion. So how do you get through that? Is there a struggle in that for you?
There has been a struggle for that for me, starting out in the industry, trying to find a place while I was working on getting my education, trying to find different resources and avenues in order to present designs can be particularly challenging in Texas. And one of the ways that I kind of really tried to get through that in the past 3 years specifically have been like the most like pivotal for me. And that's been trying to find like resources for community, because there's in different cities, there's always a different organization or a different group that has like different resources available where people have built up these communities surrounding fashion and design. So trying to find a way into all those different communities has been something that I've kind of done to combat the relative, like, not, Texas isn't the fashion capital of the world, but it could be.
A lot of times when I'm working around designers, there's this moment where people are like, you know, I've been hitting my head against a brick wall, whether it's with finding motivation or creativity or just getting through the industry. What are some of the moments that you felt I've just hit a brick wall and I don't feel like going forward anymore?
I would say for me, that moment probably actually happened my freshman year of college, when this was also during COVID. So that really, I had gotten a bunch of different opportunities during high school leading into college. And then COVID happened and everything really just slowed down, shut down. Any opportunity that I had, everything kind of went away there for about a year and a half. And I was kind of going, okay, what am I going to do? And so for me, the hitting my head against a brick wall was that I was like, okay, there aren't any opportunities. What can I do? So then what I did from there was trying to make my own opportunities. I wasn't feeling the creative spark that I had like so loved for such a long part of my life. And so I was like, okay, what are you going to do? Get through the first year of college. You're going to see if this is what you want to do during that first year, and then you're going to choose if you're going to commit to the design route or if you're going to find a different route that would better serve like the passion that you have for it. And I stuck with design.
Well, how long have you been doing this so far? Because you started in college, freshman year. How many lines? How many years?
So I first presented, my first collection was at New York Fashion Week in 2022. So that was 3 years ago. But I've been designing professionally for about the past 5. So I got started in high school. I was entering different competitions. I was doing custom pieces for some of my classmates, and I was doing different initiatives through school organizations. So I like to say that I've been designing professionally since I was 18.
Oh, wow.
And that just gave away my age. But my first collection was at New York Fashion Week in 2022, and then I've shown, I believe I'm on my 7th collection now, actually.
Oh.
So this upcoming collection will be my 7th, and then we'll go from there.
Do you insert a resort line at any point?
I like to think that a lot of my collections kind of blend between a certain season and resort wear. So you can style it for any particular way. Like there'll be certain pieces, a part of the line that can swing more resort wear or just more of like along the lines of what you think of standard ready to wear. So kind of like a good balance. The whimsy aspect kind of allots it to different areas.
Are you feeling any of the pains of scalability, or do you want to scale?
I do want to scale. That is one of my goals, I think, over the next 2 to 3 years, is to come up with the funding, come up with the different resources, and really find the right manufacturer for me and build relationships with different boutiques and different other fellow business owners. One thing that I really want to try and do in terms of scalability is to do it at a pace that is feasible, because I don't want to necessarily try and go for it too fast. So right now, my priorities are like building my audience, finding the people who love the things that I make, and really finding and pinpointing what is my design aesthetic and how can I present that to a customer.
Now that sounds like a plan. It's a lot of times when you're in the industry, it's hard to find all of those key points leading up to that big moment. And it starts with the seed of support.
Exactly.
I know when I said, hey, family, I'm going to be in the fashion industry, it was like, that doesn't sound conventional. What kind of reception did you get when you made that decision to say, I'm going to study fashion?
I think for me, I've been incredibly fortunate to have a lot of support from my family because I don't think it came as too much of a surprise to them. There was a brief moment in my life when I said I wanted to be a meteorologist, and that quickly died out once I realized how much science went into it. But I don't think it was necessarily a huge surprise to a lot of my family when I said, hey, this is what I want to pursue. I do think whenever I said I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I think that was something where more so my family was maybe like, okay, you do realize how much goes into this and how much extra work that is versus taking on a more traditional route.
Okay, so 9-year-old Michelle probably was still making a couple of those easy bake brownies that got burned up while trying to dress Barbie. But we all want to pull our hair out when we can't get those benchmarks. You know, there's a bit of anxiety. What are some of those moments where you're like, I just had enough and I'm going to pull my hair out? Because it's what we choose to do. This isn't easy.
Yeah.
And of course, we hit those plateaus where we might want to stop. What are some of those instances? You told us about COVID, and yes, that took a pivot moment. But then as you're trying to get to that scaling moment, what were some of those instances?
Some of those instances for me, I think so far have been like going to the scalability aspect is finding all of the right resources, not just finding resources, but finding the right ones that fit what I'm looking for in my terms of like ethics, sustainability, and the different standards that I want to carry as a brand. And so that right now is a plateau that I'm currently at, is finding a manufacturer right now where I can affordably make it for my customers, where it's still at a relatively accessible price point. Everything is made ethically, and everything can abide by my own sustainability standards with using dead stock materials and focusing on minimizing wastage in the manufacturing process. So that's the plateau I'm currently at. I've experienced different ones with like my own creativity where I've kind of fallen into a slump where I'm like, trying to reevaluate saying, okay, what is my aesthetic? Because I'll have kind of like an identity crisis at times where I'll go, okay, that feels like me, but it doesn't feel enough like me in order for me to put it out into the world with my name on it. So that's been some of the different places that I've been at with kind of like going, okay, we have to reevaluate and figure out what we're going to do next.
You have more things planned for your brand. What's that 5-year plan, or are you thinking that far ahead?
5-year plan for the brand right now is within the next 5 years, I hope to be working with a manufacturer, ideally one based in Texas. That's been one of my parameters I've been focusing on because I want to keep everything as local as possible. I want to have a streamlined design process that I'm currently working through creating right now to where it's something more standardized versus the creative avenue, like the excessively creative avenue that I was taught in school. So that way it's more of like a streamlined process for me. Also in the next 5 years, I hope to have an annual summer intern working under me in order to I'm able to teach them some of the different resources and some of the different more niche skills that I have gathered over the past couple of years. And I hope to have my brand stocked in 10 to 15 boutiques within the next 5 years.
Okay.
So those are the goals. That is the plan. And we will see what happens in the next 5 years.
I believe it. I can see it as you're talking about it. Man, that's a lot, but you're starting early. The whole sustainability thing, I was having this conversation with a group of our industry peers earlier. It's no longer a buzzword. It is the price of admission for the modern fashion line. So how do you get people from thinking of, oh, sustainable means I have to wear things that are ugly or things that are just uncomfortable? You know, there's a stigma when people think about sustainability. How do you get over that?
One thing that I really try to do is educate people on what sustainability actually can look like when it's not necessarily saying, oh, we're going to make this out of wastage, or we're going to make this out of scraps, or like, oh, because a lot of the times sustainability will go alongside with upcycling, which is a really great resource for people, but having people understand that those are two different things, and having something sustainably made does not inherently mean it's been upcycled, that you can use dead stock materials, you can use natural fibers. And then really, I just want to educate people in the terms of sustainability for my brand on how to care for your clothing to make it last, because something may not be 100% natural fiber, but if you take care of it properly, it can last longer and be inherently more sustainable in your own wardrobe.
And you said educate. A lot of people are torn with whether or not education in a formal sense is best for them when they're trying to get started in the fashion industry, or whether they should just maybe be an understudy, an intern, or, you know, some people learn through YouTube.
Yes.
Everyone's accomplished in different ways. But for you as a designer, do you feel that the formal education route was best for you? Or maybe you could have learned more with trial by fire?
I think that the formal education route was definitely incredibly beneficial to me, just because through getting that education, I got not only a well-rounded perspective on all the different areas of design, from like CAD to pattern making to printmaking. There was always something new to learn, and I got like a little piece of the pie on every topic, which I think was incredibly beneficial to me. And getting that formal education, it allowed me to better understand all of the different resources that are also out there to be additional and supplemental to me. So I think that for me, formal education, yes, was incredibly beneficial, but it enabled me to be able to learn from the different resources even better and be able to take on more things. So kind of like a good blend, I feel like, of the trial by fire, but also going in that formal education route was really good for me.
And what do you feel were your missteps? There's no perfect way to do anything that we do. We fall into a crack and say, I wish I hadn't done that, and I learned from it. What were those missteps?
The missteps for me, I think a lot of it was, especially starting out, since I had already known how to sew, technically, so very loosely saying that now, realizing now. But I went into college with the mindset of, oh, I already know how to do a lot of this. You're wrong. You're very, very wrong. I think that misstep for me was initially my mindset, which is something that I've been working really hard to kind of change and adjust, and being like, I don't know everything, and there's always someone who's going to be smarter than me in the room, but I want to learn from the person that's smarter than me in the room. And so kind of the missteps have been saying, oh, I think I know everything, and then having to kind of pull myself back and say, no, you don't, but say, and that's okay, and you can learn from that. And I think for me, taking on different opportunities to learn from people has been incredibly beneficial.
Love it. It's a lot of times it's admitting to ourselves. I know I didn't want to admit to myself that I didn't know what I was doing. Because it's like, you look in the mirror and it's like, I think I'm going to cry. You know what? It's like, but I learned from it.
Exactly.
And I got through it. I survived. You scrape your knees, you scrape your elbows, but you learn something. You often talk about 9-year-old Jillian.
Yes.
So I love her, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Because she learned how to sew from the family roots and got a creativity. As you are right now, what would you tell 9-year-old Jillian?
I would tell 9-year-old Jillian to take on every opportunity.
Oh.
And that meaning, even if it's for like a short amount of time, or if you don't think you're necessarily qualified for it, I firmly believe that you won't receive an opportunity if you aren't ready for it or you aren't able to become prepared. So I would say take on every opportunity, even if it's for just like a short amount of time. There's always something to learn from it.
And what would you tell the viewing audience?
I would say take a chance on yourself. And if you have something that you can't seem to really let go of, that feels like an inherent part of you, that maybe that's something worth pursuing. But
Jillian, I love it.
thank you.
Love having you here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Oh, you know,
Love
I just love talking to good
Yes.
people. In those shoes, we'll talk about that later. Okay.
Yes. You'll be coming and stealing all of my footwear.
I'm trying not to take all of your footwear.
I mean, I am very proud of my collection.
Okay. Well, I'm going to look at that.
Yeah. Yes.
And always remember, it's a hard journey and a hard climb to the top of that mountain. But once you make it to the top, it is worth every stitch. And remember, a smile is always in style. Keep it fashionable.